Hi everybody, it's Kathy here and I am joining to you today with July's Paper Funday challenge. That's right, or challenge for all things paper, and it is July as I said, and this month we are concentrating on having fun with our stencils. So today on my layout I'm going to use some rice paper and some chipboard here for my title, and I'm using these papers to create the whole layout. So let's get started. First of all, I'm going to prepare my chipboard and I'm going to colour it up. So I'm just looking for a piece of paper to put down so I don't put ink everywhere. And what I'm doing is I'm going to use my cracked pistachio oxide here, and I'm just going to ink up all of the pieces in the chipboard and put it to the side so that it can soak in and, well, cook really, basically cook it so that it doesn't rub off. So cracked pistachio is a nice minty greeny colour which works perfectly with the colour scheme that I'm going for today. So I'm just making sure that I'm getting all of the chipboard covered, and then I'm going to add a little bit of the, what's it called? It is the weathered wood distress spritz to add some more detail to that and make it a little bit more interesting for you to look at when you see it on the layout. So I'm just using this one. This is one of my favourite distress spritz at the moment. I actually really like this colour a lot. So it's making an appearance on lots of things. So it's called weathered wood, but it's coming out more like a silvery blue, and I really do like how it looks on chipboard and on the paper. So now that that's done, I'm just going to put that to the side, as I said, to let it dry or cure, and then we can get started. Now I am using some Scrapbook Fantasies paper here, and it's from the Sunny Days collection. It really is amazing. I will put the links for it down below if you're interested. The quality is outstanding. It's nice and thick, and you just work with it beautifully. I just love it. So I'm using the blues today, and cut that wood out so that you can see the I have a 1-inch frame around the outside, and I'm actually going to be using the wood paneling on this base project. So that's you very much stretching your stash so that you're getting the most out of it. I am distressing the edges here, and I'm using a distress tool that is not my normal distress tool, and so I'm having a little bit of difficulty getting it to work the way I want it to work. And once I've done that, I'm just going to lay that onto the frame, and look at those beautiful cutouts on the back of that paper. It's a shame, but I will sacrifice the cutouts for this layout because I do love this woven fabric. It looks like hessian for my base. And I'm using double-sided tape just to adhere it, and I always work around one edge at a time so that I get a flat layout. Now with my stencils here, we're going to play and we're going to create some patterns across the layout, which you may not see once it's all covered up. Now I love using these soft brush tools. They just blend beautifully. And with the hearts here and my Uncharted Mariner, I am just doing them randomly across the page. I don't want them to be solid all the way. I am doing them so that they just look like they appear and then blend in nicely with the rest of the layout, as you can see happening here across the top and the bottom. Now I have chosen to do the hearts because they are subtle and also because of the story. This photo is of my son with Charlie, and I'm titling it Love Story of a Lifetime, and it's so funny. Charlie really does love Patrick, and it's really quite funny how their relationship has established over time. So I'm just cleaning off my brush here because I'm going to go in with a second stencil, and I am going to use a script here, and this too is a Scrapbook Fantasies stencil, and I am sorry for Ivy in the background. It's just that everybody's moving off to work and she's not happy. So using the cracked pistachio here, I'm just going in underneath the hearts just to add that little bit of extra texture to the background and to add more dimension. And it is subtle, and that's what I want it to be. I didn't want it to stand out, And by using the cracked pistachio, I'm tying in the colours from the title that we coloured our chipboard. And I'm just going to put a little bit more in there. And I do like a good script stencil because it is that subtle hint across the page. It doesn't, no one has to read it. It just is like a blending tool into your layouts and adding some more depth and detail. Now, the beauty with these brushes are that it just blends nicely and it goes all together. And I'm really sorry about that interruption there with my son, who has no idea. He just barges in. So I am cutting down my wood grain, as I said, because I'm going to use it for my background. And now I'm just going to distress the edges and use the Uncharted Mariner to ink up them so that they lift up off the background and give some more shadowing to the overall layout. Now, I originally cut 3 pieces of the wood grain, but I go back and cut 2 more because I want the 5 across the whole layout. And the first part is stripping it and distressing it, and that just adds that texture and detail that lifts it and adds more to what you are seeing in the overall project in the end. Now, you can distress your papers with a distressing tool like this one, and this is my favourite one, it's a Tim Holtz one, or you can use the edge of your dulled scissors because you don't want to tear your pieces of paper, or if you want a subtle effect, you can use your fingernails and that will give you that roughed up edge as well. You're really just breaking the fibres in the paper so that it gives that softened edge to it. Now, remember, when you do ink and you use distress inks, don't just sweep them off your layout. If you have paper burrs, shake them off because you don't want to throw ink across your page or your layout because it will stain your paper because it is holding that ink in those rough paper fibres. So I'm almost through with my edging, and I'm sorry that I kept it all in. I just felt that sometimes you need to see the whole process, and it's always good to try and give new scrapbookers a new idea to how things are done. All right, now that I'm happy with that, I can start building my base. So I'm going to double-side tape it across. I will be cutting it at different lengths because I want it as a staggered effect, and you'll see that happening as I move through this process. Now, at first I start with my cutter and then I just move to my scissors because it's a lot quicker and a lot easier. And as I cut, I add that little bit of extra ink to the edges just to help define it a little bit more. I have a little bit of a gap between there, it's just a purely aesthetics approach to the layout, and I like that it's giving a staggered step type effect to the layout. Now this one's a little bit longer, so I'm going to trim it down a bit more just because I want it to be in that staggering, like a ladder really, up the page. So I'm just roughing up those edges where I cut with the scissors, and then I'm putting in the distress ink, and you can see how this is coming together quite nicely. And as I said, a lot of that stenciling would be coloured up, as you can see, but that's okay because that's just part of the design and the detail to that actual overall layout. So I'm just stretching this across the layout, and I'm almost completed. And you can see how by staggering it across, it's a visual interest to your eye, and it will draw you around that whole layout. Now there is a gap there in the middle, but that doesn't matter. I'm not worried about that because my photo will go there and cover up that spacing. And you can see that I've just moved that one across a little bit closer just so that those gaps aren't so big. Now that I've done that, we're going to use this rice paper, and I like this rice paper. It is actually the pattern that's on the back of one of those papers, and it looks like a woven mat. So I'm going to be using this for the layering behind my photo. Now I have wet the edges here, and that's because I want to tear it. And with rice paper, if you wet the edges and soak up the edges, you can get that torn look to the edge, and it's rough and it's fuzzy, and just gives another dimension to the layering on your layout. And I like rice paper. I don't use it anywhere near enough. It's a bit like mulberry paper. I just love the texture and the feel, and I should actually use it a bit more because I do like the effect that it has on a layout. So this one here, it is wet, but it will dry, and it's going to go in behind my photos, photo, I might say, and I'm just going to play around where I want it to sit. I don't want it to be like a total frame. I just want it to be tatted in behind, and you can just see how by tearing around the edges it adds that little bit more of a dimension to it. So this is all ways of using paper creatively to create a layout, and that's the whole purpose of the Paper Funday challenge, is to have fun with paper. So I'm just layering up where I think I want it to be, and I'm happy with that because I don't need it to be exactly neat. That's not the effect that I was going for. And I start by putting it down with double-sided tape, but because the rice paper is still a bit wet, when I go to use it here, you'll see no matter how much I try, it just doesn't stick. So I change my mind and I go back to glue, and that's okay. If the rice paper was dry, then your double-sided tape would be more than enough to hold it in place. But because I do have those wet pieces at the moment, the glue is the best option for me to put this down on the layout. Okay, so now I've created my base for where my photo is going to go. I'm going to add in these film strips, which I cut on my die cutting machine, so that I can add a little bit of a feature to the layout as well. And I just like how this is dragging your eye up the layout, and that's really important as well. When you're using just one photo, you want to add the depth and the height to your layout as well. So the subtle blue goes in there, and it matches what I matted my photo with. And you will see that I put this down, and I have put quite a bit of tape on this one because it is going over that rice paper, and it's also going over the distressed edged paper, so I want it to really adhere. And I'm going to put in the title, and as I said, it's called A Love Story of a Lifetime, and it's so funny. Charlie is a rainbow lorikeet. She is hand trained, but we can't let her out too many times now with the cats. We've got a new one, and she doesn't know that Charlie is not food. She's very fascinated by Charlie at the moment, so until she gets used to Charlie, we can't take her out of the cage very often. But Charlie loves Patrick, and it's so funny. She'll call him. She'll call out, Pat, Pat, and she'll whistle for him, and he teaches her to whistle different tunes, and she practices them to show off to him that she can learn the tune from him, and it's very funny and cute to watch the two of them. She will spend ages calling for him until he comes and talks to her, and we all just laugh at how much she is like his bird, even though she really is my bird. But we always say he's going to take her, she's going to go with him no matter where. She hears his car and she starts coughing and carrying on. She just thinks that he is the aunt's pets, and it's funny. She can hear his car coming from a mile off and start calling him before we even know he's coming, and that's so funny. But we always know he's on his way home because she'll start calling out Pat. So I've just added in some Nuvo drops there, just putting the effect in, and that's finishing off those clusters. And then I'm looking at it, and it's looking a little bit flat around the edges, so I'm just going to go around with a fine black felt tip pen, and I'm just going to do a messy border to give it that little bit of a pop so that it defines that page a little bit more than what is already on this layout. And I do like how this is coming together. It actually really has come together nicely, and those stencils in the background, as you can see, are just a subtle hint but add so much to the overall effect. So I'm just going to write in here that it's Patrick and Charlie, and that they have a very, very strong bond together. They're funny. They're really, really funny to watch, and he just looks after her. It's quite interesting to see a 33-year-old just enamored with a bird. So I'm adding in some more splatters here with that weathered wood spritz just to tie it all together, and I love the overall effect of this layout. It's just quite a simple layout, but looks very effective, and that rice paper adds just that little extra with the layering in behind. So this is how it's all come together. There are lots of people playing along at the Paper Fun Day Challenge on the blog. I will put all the details down below in the description box. Go and check them out. Leave some love for all the people who are creating. And I would love for somebody to please, please, please join along and add a layout. Why not? Have a go, play with your stencils and have some fun this month. July, remember, we're having fun with our stencils. I can't wait to see what everybody is creating for this month. So thanks for watching once again. Give me a thumbs up if I've done something that you like. Hopefully I've inspired you with something. Happy scrapping till next time. And here's my next video for you. I'll see you over there real soon.